What if a kingdom's fate hung by a single fragile thread? You've got a powerful king who's cursed, he can't produce an heir, and his only hope is a pretty radical solution, calling on the gods themselves to father a new generation of heroes. Well, that's exactly what happens in the incredible origin story of the five Pandava brothers. But before these heroes could rise, a crisis was threatening to bring their entire world crashing down. And it all starts with a king who was just consumed by this single desperate fear. So meet King Pandu. Now, he's got everything a king could want, right? Power, a kingdom, everything except an heir. And for him, this isn't just a political problem, about who takes the throne. No, this is a deep spiritual failure. He truly believes that without a son to perform the sacred rites, the very souls of his ancestors are doomed. I mean, you can just feel the weight of that responsibility in his own words, can't you? This isn't just sadness, it's this profound existential dread that's tearing him apart. The fate of generations, both past and future, is resting entirely on his shoulders, and he feels his whole lineage is right on the brink of collapse. But where mortal means fail, sometimes the divine offers a way out. And unbeknownst to almost everyone, his queen, Kunti, has, well, you could call it a secret weapon. She possesses a sacred mantra, a special gift from a sage, that allows her to invoke any god she chooses and have a child by that. So with Pandu's blessing, Kunti gets ready to use this secret power. And she's not just going to do it once. She's going to do it 3 times to start forging this new, completely divine legacy. So first up, she summons Dharma, the very embodiment of righteousness, who fathers Yudhishthira, a son destined to be a model of virtue. Then she calls upon Vayu, the powerful god of wind, who fathers the huge and mighty Bhima. And finally, she goes right to the top, invoking Indra himself, the king of the gods, who fathers the great and noble hero Arjuna. And the divine power of these children was obvious, like right away. Take Bhima, for instance. A few months after he was born, a startled Kunti accidentally dropped him. Now he falls onto this massive rock below, and instead of being hurt, the baby shattered the stone to pieces. This wasn't just a strong kid. This was literally a force of nature. And let me tell you, the devotion it took to summon these gods was just immense. I mean, to call upon Indra for their 3rd son, Pandu and Kunti undertook this unbelievably severe penance. For an entire year, they stood on one leg, sunrise to sunset, completely lost in meditation. And when Arjuna was finally born, wow, the heavens themselves basically threw a party. Celestial drums, showers of flowers, the whole thing. A divine prophecy was declared right then and there. His glory would echo through all 3 worlds. With his birth, the royal lineage wasn't just being saved, it was being rocketed to this legendary divine status. Okay, so as Kunti's good fortune is growing, so is the sorrow of someone else. The divine solution to one crisis was about to kick off a very human drama of jealousy and desire. This is Madri, Pandu's 2nd wife. And you have to put yourself in her shoes. While her co-wife, Kunti, has now given birth to 3 magnificent, godlike sons, Madri is still childless, and her heart is just heavy with grief, not just for herself, but for her husband's legacy. So she goes to Kunti in private, and her pain is just so clear in her words. She knows she can't just go and ask Kunti directly. The rivalry between them is just too intense. So she pleads with her husband to convince Kunti to share the divine mantra with her, just one time. Pandu agrees, and Kunti, maybe feeling a little generous in her good fortune, she says, okay, she'll share the mantra for a single use. But Madri is way more clever than she's letting on. She has a plan. And this is where Madri's brilliance just shines. Knowing she might only get one shot at this, she doesn't summon a single god. Nope. Instead, she invokes the Ashwins, the inseparable divine twins. So with one use of the mantra, she secures not 1, but 2 sons, Nakula and Sahadeva. And just like that, the whole dynamic shifts completely. On the left, you can see that generosity Kunti showed at first. But on the right, yeah, that's her reaction after realizing she's been completely outplayed. Madri, with one wish, now has 2 sons, which brings her count much closer to Kunti's 3. So when Pandu later asks Kunti to share the mantra again, her patience has just run out. She feels tricked, and as her words make crystal clear, the door to any more divine children is slammed shut for good. That initial generosity has been totally replaced by a fierce new rivalry. But despite all the palace intrigue and the very human emotions of jealousy and competition, the central crisis, the big problem, it's been averted. 5. That's the crucial number here. Pandu now had 5 sons. That fear of a broken lineage, the spiritual dread that almost consumed him, was finally gone. And these weren't just any sons. They grew up in the Himalayas, and they became astonishingly powerful and beautiful. They were described as being as handsome as the moon god, as powerful as Indra, and fearless enough to face down mountain lions when they were still just kids. So the ultimate goal was achieved. The threat of the family line dying out was replaced with a promise of unparalleled glory. The Pandava line wasn't just secured, it was supercharged with the power of the gods themselves. So a legacy was born, forged in desperation, blessed by divinity, but also fractured by some really deep human rivalry. And this leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? Can a family that was built on such a complicated mix of the sacred and the all-too-human, can it ever really be united? Can a foundation like that possibly endure?